Woo! Episode 66 of Everything NYJ podcast. I am your host, Italy J, with my co-host Liam Johnson, along with Jets Guru. Liam, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh man, I have a lot of same old Jets vibes going. So I wish I could be a little more. I'm not as angry as I was the last couple of weeks. I'm starting to get over it a little bit. This whole offensive coordinator search is really just kind of throwing me for a loop, and everywhere you look, it's Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and Derek Carr. I don't know. We got to get into all of it. But Jets Guru, how you feeling, my friend?
What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's awesome to chat with you. I met you guys in the opening game, and it's always cool to meet with people who've seen my work. Now I've seen your work. Now we're working together. So, I really like that sense of community that sports can bring. But man, I'm not quite over it yet. Like I haven't written anything on my Jets Guru page since. It really just the last couple weeks I've been slowing down because it's been so heartbreaking for me the way they finished out.
Absolutely, man. It's almost like what do you want us to say? Like they failed in epic fashion. You had to win one game. One game. That's all it took. And you probably would have gotten in the playoffs. You know what I was thinking? I'm watching that Bills Dolphins game this weekend. All I was thinking was that could have been us. That could have been. I said it like 100 times. That could have been us. And there was a really good chance that we would have beaten them too, because I don't think Buffalo played all that good. I think it was more Miami shooting themselves in the foot, and their head coach over there vaping away. That could have been us, man.
Yeah, I mean, I pictured that too, or playing the Jaguars or something, like it's just, you're like, what? We get to play the Jaguars, and then you're like, you can't beat the Jaguars, guys. Like, it's like, I went from being 7-4. Okay, here we go. Because I've never done a season of Jets Guru, obviously, while the Jets have had a winning season. So it's been
I
rough
understand.
because it's tough because year after year you put a big production together, you interact with fans, it's all this back and forth, and it starts off exciting and everyone's tuned in, and then by like the end of the season you could just feel the viewership start to drop, the hopes start to drop, and it's just kind of like it's tough as a fan. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Like as an organization, like how do you raise ticket prices when the last time the Jets were in the playoffs, I was married to someone else, I didn't have my kid, worked in a completely different profession, lived halfway across from where I am now. Like, I mean, I couldn't have been a different person. You're talking about 12 years. You're talking about the longest active streak in sports alongside the Sacramento Kings, who I believe might even have a shot at the playoffs this year. I usually don't start watching basketball until after the season. So
Hmm.
it's pathetic for a major city organization. The Mets have made the playoffs before the Jets, and I'm a huge Mets fan. I watch like 140 games a year. This is why this is why I think I had heart problems, and it's just it's impossible. It's impossible. I'm a Knicks fan. The list just goes on here in New York, and I thought, the Knicks are playing better. Mets are making the playoffs. Giants are turning it around. Rangers are looking good. Jets are looking good. And then
And
down in the
then
dumps, man.
same old Jets. I got to be honest with you. The last time the Jets made the playoffs, I was in sixth grade. Sixth grade. I remember. I remember there's this little kid AJ in my class, and huge Tom Brady fan. I wonder what he grew up to be. But I had to hear for months, oh, Jets suck, 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 and just all the talk, all the nonsense. And when we finally beat the Patriots, I was just like now what, bitch? That's what I was feeling. Like I was just so into it, and ever since like this season, I swear to God, this past month, like since like the season was like over, in my right eye, I've had this twitch, and I can't get rid of it, and I really think a lot. I swear to God, on everything I own, I think that has a lot to do with it. Like it just stressed me out like no other. I go on to onto Jets Twitter, and it's just chaotic. Everyone's fighting, and nobody knows what they're talking about. You're wrong for liking this guy, and Jimmy Garoppolo can't be a Jet, but Tom Brady's coming here. No, he's not. You're a jerk. You don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely
pandemonium.
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess like my first question. So like, do you think the New York Jets? Do you think they go after a quarterback or an offensive coordinator first?
It could go either way. There could be a combo. I heard that if the Jets are as interested as Woody Johnson made it seem that he was looking for a quarterback, let's say they make a play for Lamar Jackson. Can you get Greg Roman to come too? Is that something that could be possible, to have the coordinator that has been working with your quarterback? So that means from a teaching standpoint, your coordinator and quarterback are on the same page. So that means as they're delegating and they're telling people where and how they should be, it's a lot easier when the two head chiefs of an actual play call are there together and know the playbook. I think it would be much easier. I think a lot of people like Lamar Jackson. A lot of people in the football circles like Lamar Jackson, have a lot of respect for him. And I think that him as a New York Jet would be amazing. It would be the thing that we were looking for. It would be the thing that Joe Douglas was trying to do when he was going to send first-round picks for Tyreek Hill, and pay him all that money that he got in Miami. This is the type of splash I think that Joe Douglas has been waiting to do for a while, and it may even be out of his hands slightly. Woody Johnson has started to speak a little bit more, but with good clarity. He's sick of this. He's getting older. He wants to see a winner. He said he's willing to spend money. And Woody Johnson said one thing that really impressed me this past offseason, well, 2 off seasons ago, when he brought Robert Saleh in. He said that Joe Douglas is going to be the guy to bring people in. And I was like, yes, man, yes, this is what I'm talking about. Let football people make football decisions. He wasn't lying about that. He let it happen and he backed off. Now he's saying that he's willing to spend big money on a quarterback. But what does that mean? What does that big money mean, really? What do you mean, big money on Derek Carr? No, it's not. I don't think that's what he was talking about. I think he's thinking deeper than that. So don't take the Jets out of the equation completely when this Lamar Jackson things open up, because Joe Douglas has to make the playoffs this year. I don't care what Woody Johnson says about the playoff mandate. I would love for it to be true, because to me, to put a cap on and just be like, everyone has to suck their first year, second year, then win double the games, third year, make the playoffs, fourth year, Super Bowl. And it's like, dude, it doesn't, only 2 or 3 teams get to play, 4 teams get to play in those final games that get to the Super Bowl. Everyone else is looking on the outside in. So for me, let's get to the playoffs. Let's be a team that year in and year out, the Jets, they're going to make the playoffs. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Maybe. They do got Lamar Jackson. He did throw for 25 touchdowns and ran for 1,000 yards last year. It's possible. Garrett Wilson's one of the best receivers in the league. Breece Hall's running all over the place. The Jets got the defense. They could be the Ravens. You're literally just transplanting one quarterback in an offensive system. Boom. You're putting it in the Jets. The Jets already have a good defense like the Ravens have always had all these years. You've got the GM who worked in the Baltimore Ravens organization. And when I first said Joe Douglas was getting hired, what I wanted to see from him is to bring some of that stuff that you saw in Baltimore and in Philly, where you could start to build a constant winner. Yeah, they might miss the playoffs here and there. Same thing with the Steelers. They might miss the playoffs here and there. But they're kind of in it a lot. Even when they suck, they're in it. The Steelers sucked this year, and somehow they were in it. The Ravens sucked a couple years ago. They were still in it. So I want to be one of those organizations that year in and year out, you're attracting players, you're a playoff team in the mix, and I think that's done with a splash for Lamar Jackson. Now, then you could go in the Derek Carr route, and I like Derek Carr. Derek Carr has had one of the worst defenses in the league nearly every year he's played. Actually, the Raiders were named worst defense of the decade by either Sports Illustrated or ESPN. Carr had that with him. There were years where he was scoring 19, 22, 24 plus points a game. The defense is giving up 24, 24, 29, 26. How could you keep up with that as a quarterback? And most of those years we were without a running back. They just got Jacobs. They just started getting a few weapons now. He would arguably be the second greatest quarterback in Jets history, statistically, behind Joe Namath if he came on today. He would be the best quarterback since Vinny Testaverde's magical year with the New York Jets. This is the type of stuff we're talking about, and Jet fans are like, no, we don't like him. He hasn't won with the Raiders. Well, it's a team game, dummies. Wake up. Look at how stuff is broken down. You can't do it on your own. But I'd rather have him than just give it to Zach Wilson or even Mike White. He's not on the same talent level. Derek Carr is like a top 13 quarterback, right? Right on the fringes of 10, better than 15. He's right in there, and he can throw the ball. So I'm not going to turn that down. And the only reason why I'm turning Jimmy down is because he's hurt all the time, and we can't afford that. We have seen enough of that stuff, and you know what's going to happen. And then what do? You give it to Zach Wilson. He's not ready. Maybe Mike White. We're in the same predicament. You're going to get fired, guys. So to me, it's Derek Carr or Lamar Jackson, and that's it.
I love everything you said. Real quick,
Man, I don't even think we need to continue this podcast. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, everyone have a good night.
One other thing I want to say, guys. One of the things I want to say, because my buddy Richard mentions this all the time, and I'm on board with him. You look at most quarterbacks that get paid the money that Lamar Jackson wants. Mm-hmm. You're usually not winning Super Bowls. Like maybe, there's a guy here and there, but you're not usually winning Super Bowls because where are you going to keep that defensive line? How are you going to sign Sauce Gardner, keep Breece Hall, keep Wilson, keep AVT? All these guys that are intricate pieces that are building your team up when you're paying a guy $300 million. So it's like they get Lamar Jackson. There's a small window to win a chip. And then as guys have to get paid, now the cap is going to go up. I understand that.
Right.
But still, you still got to sign Quinn in this year too. Because he said
Quincy.
And so there's things you have to do. So if you get Lamar, you're running tight, you're paying over, that's fine. You're catching a penalty. But long-term, keeping your players here, you got to win in a short window. And then what you do is you have Lamar Jackson. So as these players are falling off, you're still in the hunt. And then the young guys, the new crop, come up and meet him halfway towards the back end of his contract. So you sign Lamar to a 5-year deal. You want to win a chip in the first 2 years. And then that year 3 and 4, you're probably losing a Sauce Gardner, a Wilson, a Breece Hall. One of these guys are going. You can't keep them all. Mm-hmm. And then in the back end of that contract, you want those young guys to be coming out year 4, year 5. And then you could sit there and say, okay, after that, do we re-sign him? He's 30 years old. Like guys are extending their careers a lot. So you get Lamar Jackson. You got Lamar Jackson for a while, but he's a running quarterback. He's been missing time as well. So it's not going to be a perfect scenario, guys. Mm-hmm. A quarterback is not going to drop in your lap like Joe Burrows, unfortunately. I'm not putting that luck towards us. We're going to have to go and get somebody with this current team, or we're going to waste this opportunity, and this is all going to fall to crap.
I agree.
That's why I'm willing to go all in. But my only fear with Lamar Jackson, I'm hearing all these kind of rumors that he's going to Atlanta. That seems to be like the big new rumor, which I kind of believe because of, he's almost like a Michael Vick, similar, running quarterback. My only fear with Lamar is I think they're going to franchise tag him. I really think that's what's going to happen.
Well, you have to. You have to anyway.
Yeah, they kind of have to.
And Lamar has to sign it if he wants to get traded to another team.
Right.
So he has to do it. So it will get done, but he'll stretch it out. So he'll stretch it out the full duration and push it until they're like, really stress him out. And that's not bad on him. This guy's won an MVP. This guy has kept him in relevancy, so you don't have Kyle Bowler rolling around out there year in and year out, those type of guys, he deserves to get paid. You know, everyone loves Josh Allen, okay?
Mhm.
You look at their stats, they're nearly identical. Josh has 30 more touchdowns, big arm thrower. But you look at the rushing yards, you look at most of the passing statistics, he's not too far behind. He throws touchdowns. It's not like he's rolling out there like Zach Wilson throwing 9 touchdowns a season. That's not what Lamar Jackson is doing. He throws the football. He just likes to run it a lot too. And you know what? I'd like to see a little bit of that. I'd like to see some fresh quarterbacks out here doing that. I'm used to guys standing in the pocket getting rocked.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I'm used to seeing. Going back to Neil O'Donnell and Glenn Foley and the Bubby Brister, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So
Mike White's.
Yeah, I mean, Mike White almost got killed. He almost died, guys. I mean, I'm not even lying. Like,
I know. Yeah.
They did not protect him at all. This kid is trying. This kid is trying to get a contract to save his life. He wasn't healthy. Now, he sucked against the Seahawks. He was awful. And now I know why. It's like with the Jets, you always find out it's worse than what it is. You're like, no, really? Like, it's like that. Like, and so he shouldn't have been playing, which shows me a lot about Zach Wilson. Now, I'm not giving up on the kid, but I can't get fired for Zach Wilson. I don't care if I drafted him or not. His offensive coordinator's gone. My job's on the line. Sit down and learn. Someone's going to get hurt. You'll get a shot again, and we'll see how much you've improved. That's how I look at him.
And also, it's like they failed to produce Zach Wilson as well. LaFleur, so they even admitted it, which was interesting when they admitted it. But overall, the Jets have been desperate to get a franchise quarterback and to hurry up the development everywhere for a very long time. So I totally get the quarterback situation with this. Now, my question for you is, say we don't get Lamar Jackson, say we don't get that the offense coordinator you mentioned. If you had a chance to get someone else as an OC in here, who would you get?
Oh, man, I don't know. I really would like Bevel. That would have been nice.
Okay. Well, why Bevel?
I like what they were able to do in Miami. You know, like I feel like they squeezed as much as they could out of Tua that he possibly could get. Like, I don't see Tua hitting some next level. Like, I feel like when you watch Tua now, they got the most out of him. And there were times during the season where, like, he looked really good. And I like what they've done with their 2 speedsters on the outside. They even got the tight end working, which I like. They drafted Gesicki like 9 million years ago. Like they interchange running backs just like for me, just like the 49ers do. Like they're able to use like several backs to help and complement the team. I like that. So I would have liked to have him on. Now I know Nathaniel Hackett is either interviewing or he interviewed. Now, everyone's going to be like, dude, did you watch this last season? But I really think Russell was struggling, man. I really, really do. Like, there were a lot of plays. Guys were just open. There were a lot of frustrations that were shown. And you can't bench him. He doesn't have that type of pull. And what is Drew Lock going to do anyways? It's just a mess. I don't think that Russ is even necessarily done. You know, I think he could play a lot better than that. That's for sure. So we'll see what happens with him. But honestly, I haven't really dove in too hard. I'm really just kind of listening to the owner and the GM. And I'm trying to see where, because I think if they're going Lamar, they have to get a guy or find a guy that runs a similar offense they do with Baltimore. So if you get the quarterback, that's going to dictate who your offensive coordinator is. But if you get a guy like Jimmy G, you could find a West Coast type of guy, swing him in there, and then it's just like it kind of works. So I don't know. There's a good chance that they can hire Nathaniel Hackett, and I'm being honest with you with that. I really think that they struggled because of their quarterback more than anything, and they did have some injuries as well. But that's kind of where I'm at with it right now in the process. I'm trying to see what this team wants to do at quarterback, because they have to make a decision, because you hire an offensive coordinator now under what premise? What is the premise? Because now you're starting to scare me a little bit, because now it's like did you hire this guy because he thinks he could fix Zach Wilson? Because that's not what I want. That's not what I want for the Jets. I don't want the Jets hiring someone, we're going to fix Zach Wilson. I want Zach Wilson fixed, but you can hire guys on the side. I don't want my offensive coordinator needs to be focused on the current New York Jets team that at one point was 7-4 and they fumbled the bag. Why did they fumble the bag? Offensive line was beat up and wasn't playing good enough. Their running backs were beat up and they weren't able to get a good running game. Their quarterback wasn't good enough. So fix the quarterback. Couple guys come back from the offensive line. Healthy backfield. I'm expecting playoffs here. This is me. This is how I'm looking at this New York Jets team going into next year. So as an offensive coordinator now, everyone wants an established offensive coordinator like Bevel, Hackett, whatever. Are these guys going to put their careers on the line for Zach Wilson as well? And then what happens? And then Saleh gets fired or Joe Douglas gets fired. Then who's going to get fired? I'm going to get fired now. So people are thinking about that stuff. They really are. We're making the decisions. And I think that's why Bevel, and I'm not saying this is why, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If Bevel turned down the Jets interview to go back, if it was because like, hey, we want to keep Zach in the fold and eventually da-da-da-da, and he was like, nah, dude, no, I'm good. Like, I'm not interested in that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Because you got to make a decision. Derek Carr, if they don't find a trade partner, which they won't, because why? The only reason why you would trade for him is if you're super desperate, like the Jets, but slightly incompetent because you know that if you don't pull, they're going to release him on the 15th, right. And then you can go and sign him. And I'd rather spend the money than give up the picks right now with the Jets because they're not going to be able to sign everybody. They're working with limited cap space, even with the cuts. They're competing with other teams. So with the cap going up with the cuts, they're going to be around 45, 50, but they're not going to be the only team around that range. And are people going to trust who you are if you don't figure out the quarterback situation before all that? So all of this is tying together, man. Everyone looks at football. They just see a guy, oh, he stinks. But dude, everything works together. That's why I love it, man, because there's scouting that's involved. There's research that's involved. There's moments in time where things connect, where they're like, there's like, who are you starting? Who are you going after? What is going on here? So the Jets need to find out who their quarterback's going to be. I think that'll determine who the OC is going to be and so on. Because if you get an OC, then let's say you bring them on and say, we're going to go hard for Carr. Then you don't get Carr. Then it's like, then you don't get Jackson. Then it's like, oh, well, can you fix Zach and Mike White? And it's like, wait, hold on. What did I get myself into? Like, so what kind of offensive coordinator is going to jump into that slot? A new guy. A guy that's like, it's his first opportunity. So, of course, he's not going to question anything. What was very telling was that LaFleur said, and this is what I think got him fired. Yeah, he left, whatever. He got fired. was when he came out and he said, oh, yeah, well, we really probably shouldn't have started Zach. We should have put him behind a vet and let him learn. And I'm like, dude, you just threw your head coach and your GM under the bus and your owner, because the owner has to sign off on whether this guy's starting or not. So you threw everyone under the bus. Yeah, we all know Zach probably should have sat under a competent veteran for a year or two and probably came out this third year full confidence, ready to go. But that's not how it worked out. You should have kept that to yourself. But it's very telling, though, and it tells you where the Jets are in their process. And I think everyone is really like, wow, I can't believe this kid really isn't that ready developmentally. But they ignored all the signs. They went for the arm talent. They went for his movement and his ability outside the pocket, and that's great. But clearly, he needs serious work. He also needs to get his confidence back. He had the yips in the offseason, which if people don't know what that is, you can't find the plate. Dude, I mean, the Jets are a mess, and they need to figure out their guy now.
Well, there's a lot to unravel in that. But starting off with Zach, according to Robert Sala, all he needs to do is sit on the beach and read a book. That's all he needs to do, and he'll be fine. There are a lot of offensive coordinators out there that I want that I don't think we're getting it. I don't see a Frank Reich coming here. I don't think Gary Kubiak's coming out of retirement. I don't think Todd Munkins from Georgia is coming up. That'd be probably my most realistic, competent hope, I guess. I don't really like Nathaniel Hackett without Aaron Rodgers, and I don't want Aaron Rodgers here, so I don't really see that happening. It's just I want somebody who has experience. I want somebody. We can't afford to have a new first-time coordinator. We just saw that experiment failed. The Jets failed. Mike LaFleur, it failed. The quarterback coach failed. I want somebody who has experience, somebody who can call an NFL game, who could read a play sheet, can study NFL defenses, just somebody who's been around the block. As I like to say, the adult in the room. We need that older presence available. But asking you real quick, if you're Woody Johnson, if you're Joe Douglas, and you're approaching a quarterback, and if you're approaching a offensive coordinator, what is your selling point? How are you getting somebody to sign with the Jets, coach wise?
Well, I mean, when you look at the Jets, I think there's a lot of young individual talent on this team. I think people saw and started respecting the Jets this season. Quinnen Williams is a real force. Sauce Gardner was the best corner in the league his rookie season. Him and Reed were the best combo in the league, in my opinion. I don't see Reed's play dropping off. The linebackers, I think coverage could be a little bit better. Big hits from Quincy, good tackling type of guys. But we could use some coverage guys in the system that they run. But the defensive line, the rotation was great. The only thing that sucked, and I talked about this in my last episode, guys, is just Olbrich doesn't blitz at all. And the Jets defense became very, very vanilla. Yeah, your front guys could get there, but they were just chipping the Jets apart towards the end. It was like the MO was just get the ball out, let your athletes move a little bit, you'll get some yards. The Jets can't score more than 10 points anyways. So, it's okay if we go 3 and out for a half or so, because eventually we'll be able to get a touchdown on them or make a mistake. And I think you saw the blitzing towards the end of the last game. And I'm like, thank God this guy actually started incorporating that at least as a package to throw the defense off. But going back on target, you got Wilson, to me, offensive rookie of the year. You got Breece Hall coming back, who had a good chance to be an offensive rookie of the year. Like I said, Sauce, defensive rookie of the year. You just look at this team. AVT has really been coming into his own. So I like that. So as a quarterback coming in, you're looking at this team and you watch the Jets, you're like, man, these weapons are really underutilized, and they still have Elijah Moore that I still think has a very big place in this game. My ceiling for him is lowered a lot, but still, I think with the new offensive scheme, running him like a true slot receiver, and I don't care what he wants or what he likes. And if it's that big of a deal, then I'm definitely moving him. He is a slot receiver. He has the moves, the hip rotation, the feet to work for it. He doesn't have the size to run on the outside because he doesn't have the elite speed like Tyreek Hill. So there's a difference. When you're that small and you can run that fast, you can create separation enough where your height doesn't come into play, that's great. He's not taking things to the house like I see Tyreek has done. It's not like that for him. I think he could catch 65, 70 balls a year over the middle and out routes and ins and slants and really have a productive career. And I really hope the new offensive coordinator uses him that way. The Jets have 2 tight ends that are very capable and very underutilized. I think you saw the skills of both this year. They just weren't used. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, great sign. They suck. Guys, they weren't looked at nearly as much as Lamar Jackson loves using his tight ends. You bring him to the Jets, and CJ becomes a serious weapon. And both of these guys become serious weapons. So I think there's a lot to say with the Jets. I think if you look at the draft history of Joe Douglas and what he can do, I'm very trustworthy in the fact that he's going to come out here and add significant depth to this team in this draft. Even if he has to trade away some first-round picks to get Lamar Jackson, I still trust him in that manner. So I think you plug Lamar in with, let's say, an offensive coordinator that fits his style, and you look at this 2 tight end set. You look at the receiver that Wilson is becoming with Elijah Moore. You throw in just a guy like Jeff Smith kind of floating around, a 4th receiver type of guy. Breece Hall, Knight. I like it. I think his squad is better than the Ravens offensively. You put Lamar Jackson on the Jets offense, the Jets are a better team. That's just my opinion. and the Jets wind up winning those games that they wind up losing by just a very little bit. Besides the Lions game, which the defense fumbled the bag, all those other games, the Jets just needed more offense, just enough to keep the defense where they weren't just getting completely, their plan was blown open. It was just easy how to play the Jets. I mean, you look at the performance that Goff put on. I mean, what? He didn't crush you. He was just accurate with the football, let his weapons let Brown do his thing. Then you had the mistakes with the punt, and then you miss a field goal here and there. A punt return. You're like, oh my gosh, we're down 10-0. And that's it for the Jets. The Jets go down 10-0. You can forget about it. And so I think that the Jets should go all in. And that's my personal opinion. And even though I agree with my buddy where the Jets will be kind of in cap hell trying to keep all these guys together, you got short windows here, man. And you have short windows to win a Super Bowl, but it could still turn into a perennial playoff team that, given any chance, when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, if you're drafting and you're bringing in depth properly, like the Ravens have done, like the 49ers have done, like the Steelers have done over the years, you should go from Super Bowl contender to playoff contender, barely making the playoffs. Oh, they're back in the playoffs. Oh, here we go. Young talent's coming back again. That's how it should be if you're a competent organization. And if you got a guy like Lamar Jackson, you always got a chance. I'm tired of seeing the second round, try a fourth round, fifth round project that turns into something. I'm tired of getting Vinny Testaverdes, even though I love the season, but those types of guys, Fitzpatrick, I'm tired of it. Go get a superstar. Go get the piece that we've been missing since Namath, and let's go do some work, please, before this defense leaves and gets old. And then what? Then what do we do? I'm tired of it.
I hear you.
Ooh, man, I love it. I love it. I know the chat is saying, chill, guys, chill. We're on the right path. But it's one of those things where I agree with some of these guys in the chat, but overall, it's realistic what we're saying. Like, this is a lot of things could happen in this offseason. We have to re-sign so many guys. There's so many guys that have 1-year deals or coming at the end of their contract, and we don't have the cap. Now, the three guys I think are must-sign back guys is Quinnen, Quincy, the brothers, and I think Huff. I think those are a must-sign guys to come back. And you can even argue Mosley in there, but I don't think Juan's going to come back. Mosley, if you get him cheap. If you get him cheap, then maybe.
Yeah.
But not sure. I mean, Sherwood, I don't think is ready. And Azardine, I don't think is ready either. But if you're going to, I just have this gut feeling that we are going to make a splash. I don't know what's going to be yet because Joe D, you never know. But I feel like we're going to make a splash. I don't know if it's going to be on the offense or defense side of the ball. But overall, it's going to be okay. Liam, what do you think?
I'm at the point where I don't really care about the cap anymore. It's like we see teams every year that like the cap somehow like doesn't affect them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Look at the Rams last year. Look at all the talent that they signed. I mean, granted, they didn't have that same success this year that they had, but hey, at the end result is winning a championship. They got there. They won. They had to sign all these guys. Like, see, it's kind of different with me because like I want like the homegrown talent to win the Super Bowl. Like, I don't want to add like. I don't ever want Tom Brady, but like using him as an example, I don't want to add like a Tom Brady, so because like that kind of becomes like his Super Bowl more than like the Jets Super Bowl. I mean, but at the same time, we need that quarterback to get us over the hump.
Yeah.
So if we're a quarterback away, I agree with you, Guru. Go all in. I'm done playing around. I'm sick of the Sam Darnolds and even like the Zach Wilsons, the Josh McCown. Like I'm sick of these bandy guys, these guys that we know aren't going to get to that next level. Give me the established guy. Give me the proven guy. Quit playing around and just go to the top. Just get there. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these band-aid guys. I'm sick of maybe not. We don't know what this guy is. Hey, if it starts raining rocks, then maybe Sam Darnold, maybe Zach Wilson could be something. It's not realistic. It's just not. I like these guys. I want to give them the time to develop, but in the meantime, we cannot. People say you can't mortgage your future going out and getting like a top name. You are mortgaging your future investing in these guys who just aren't ready.
Do what the
this is
Mets
a
did.
win-now team. Yeah, yes. Even the Yankees.
Yeah,
The Yankees won out and they bought 27 World Series. They bought them. It's
sure.
time that Woody Johnson opens his wallet.
Yeah.
You know, when's
Well,
the last time? Go ahead.
I think Woody does. I think for the most, I don't think Woody's cheap. And remember, they got to spend a certain amount of that cap regardless. They have to spend it. But the difference here for the New York Jets is that they always try to like get the bargain guy, and from the
Yeah.
drafting side, they always miss out. Like the year that we were supposed to get Stafford, we had to get Sanchez because the Lions got Stafford. And honestly, I think Sanchez could have been a little bit better, but not much better than what he was. They kind of ruined his development because they were a championship style team. They kind of pulled him back and didn't let him kind of open his game up to test his distances as a pro in this speed game. And by the time he had
They
to
also
open it up, it was over. So this
they also
team,
got rid of all of his talent too.
oh, well,
At
they
the end
did,
of that.
but that, like, remember, we spoke about how that's supposed to happen when you kind of go up
Yeah.
and you're going to lose some guys. And if you're the guy, you're supposed to take them like this. The Jets had their window to win the Super Bowl with that team. You knew you were going to lose some guys on the way up. They opened it up to him. He still had a decent offensive line. You know, Mangold was still there. Guys were still there, but he just didn't get over the hump. And then you go and you get guys like Geno in the second round, and then you have Tim Tebow, and then you have Darnold and Christian Hackenberg and all these people, and you just like, it's not working. And not because the Jets, they never do things right. So there's a price to pay when you fire your head coach, but you keep your GM, but then you keep your GM and fire your head coach, and then you have a firm come in and hire your guy, not a football guy. And everything is always off, off shift. And this was the first time where I thought, okay, guys, they are all football lined up like a real organization, and they failed. They picked the wrong guy, and their defense popped too soon, which is a good thing, but it popped too soon. So now you went from a team where they're not supposed to compete until year 3 or 4. Now you're looking at this team with the running game, even with that bummy offensive line that they doled out the second half. If Breece Hall was there, I think they win a game or two extra to get in. The way Breece was running the football, it takes pressure off the quarterback. It opens the game up a little bit differently. So, I mean, you're this close. So now it's like, guys, what are we going to do? Because if we fail here and the Jets win 7 games again, and it's not because whoever the quarterback was got hurt in the beginning of the year and this and all that, and it's like they just fall off again, they're done. And then what? The great trades that Joe Douglas made, his ability to find young talent, out the window because of the way the NFL is ran these days. So I don't want to see that for these guys. So either get your star in Lamar Jackson or get your holdover in Derek Carr, where you can hold them for 2-3 years and have your team be in the playoffs and do some things while you're trying to figure out who your next young guy is going to be in the next class coming up. And then it's like, all right, now we got our young guy. He sat for a year. Now we plug him in. Boom. Now we got another 2-3 years to see if this guy is going to be good. But if you fail here, everyone's done. We're starting from ground zero, finding a new GM, a new coach. Nah, man, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. We got to keep coaches around. We got to keep GMs around 10 plus years. That's what I want to see here.
Keep the fan base around.
Some tradition, man. Build some tradition.
Steelers.
Yes.
3 head coaches in their franchise history. But not only that, I'm done drafting a quarterback. I just can't stomach it. You know, everyone's saying like, oh, like what if like Richardson is the best player, on your board? Like, do you take him? No, I don't. I don't want to draft a quarterback. I'm done. I've seen this experiment fail one too many times. I'm sick of it. Just go out there. We have to accept we have not really developed a quarterback, and if you want to call Chad Pennington developed, since Chad Pennington. Really, it's been nothing but failure ever since then. You could argue Sanchez, like you said, he had those couple good years with a veteran team around him. Where like you remember Robert Saleh even said like this team is too good to fail. Well, you know what, Robert Saleh, it failed. The team failed. You don't lose 6 in a row and say it was a success. You just don't. And that pisses some people off because like it's the best we've felt in such a long time. But like I sound like a broken record here. Just go out, spend the money, Go over the top. Get the guy that you need. Get the guy that's going to win you a championship, and stop screwing around. At that point, raise ticket prices 50%. I don't care. But you can't raise ticket prices 20% and then go out there and lose 6 in a row. You just
Right.
can't do it. So maybe he's raising these ticket prices because maybe he wants that extra money. Something big's coming. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
my
if
God,
I
yeah.
give Woody Johnson an extra $20, then maybe we could go get Lamar Jackson. That's what I'm hoping.
And check this out with the draft picks, right? Everyone's like, oh, but they're giving away all these first round picks. Okay, I get that. But who are, like, besides the offensive line, right? Who are you drafting? Are you drafting someone to take Sauce's spot, which is a premium pay position?
Safety.
No. What about DJ Reed? What about Reed? Are you saying no? What about receiver? No. What about tight end? No. So we don't need it. So if you bring in a Lamar Jackson, you give up, let's say, 4 first-round picks, right? The first 2 aren't going to help you that much. If you could tell me that you could draft offensive line, if you trust Joe Douglas to work this draft, there's plenty of offensive linemen that come from different rounds that play just fine. Because if you had to play the top 2 or 3 offensive linemen in every draft, guess what? The NFL wouldn't have enough offensive linemen. So there's guys from all sorts of different rounds that play really well and weren't drafted number 3 or number 5 or number 6 or 10 or whatever. So you could find offensive linemen if you trust your scouting department, that you could find those guys. And in the offseason, if you could bring in another guy. Now, remember, you got Becton coming back with 1 year. You still have AVT. Tomlinson, to me, has got to go if you can make that happen. McGovern, I think he's got to go. So you need a center. And from what they're saying, Becton's going to be your left tackle unless he gets hurt again. I can't trust that. I got to bring in a solid right tackle who can also play left tackle in a pinch. Okay. I don't know what's going on with Max Mitchell and what that situation is whatsoever, but he played very well. He could be in the mix if it's not something weird or whatever. But so the Jets have options where for the first 2 years, those first round picks don't matter as much. And I've already seen that Joe Douglas can work the middle and the bottom half of the draft to find talent to fill in around them while they still are. And that way it allows you to still maybe pay a guy like Wilson a couple years, pay a guy like Sauce instead of constantly bringing these fresh first round picks, and you get a quarterback in return. So I like it as far as the picks are concerned. Again, the money could be an issue down the road, but again, how many times are we going to draft a guy that doesn't work when you have a good defense? Why are you keep drafting young quarterbacks with Super Bowl talented defense? Imagine Rex Ryan with a really competent veteran quarterback with those first 2 years with that defense. The Jets might have had a championship. They may have had a bye. These types of things that maybe you're not playing an extra game. It matters, man. So, if the Jets defense was 27th in the league and you're like, man, they won 2 games. You're like, you know what? Maybe we should start over again. This is awful, right? But you can't really say that. You have talent popping all over the field and a defense that can be top 10. Man, you can't waste this. If you waste this, that's malpractice. You might as well leave now. Get fired now. You can't do that as an organization. You've been waiting for this moment to have a running game again, to have offensive talent on the outside. I mean, last time we've never had a guy like Wilson. I'm sorry. He's never been in a Jets uniform. The closest you could get to is like a Santana Moss in a season, a Lavernius Coles, a fun season. You haven't had a guy like this, Keyshawn Johnson, for a season. But Wilson is next level talent, and you can't waste that. So I think you go out, you maximize. You have to. It has to happen. And it will. It will. Woody would have not said that if the Jets are not either getting one of the more established vets or making a big splash for a quarterback. One of those two are happening. Or why do you make that statement? Because then everyone's going to come back and say, well, Woody, you said you were gonna spend on money and you brought in Gardner Minshew. Like, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, what? So he didn't say that for no reason. He said that for a reason, to let people know, be on watch. And I think he said that, and that's for potential coaches coming to the Jets. Jets need a wide receiver coach. Jets need a quarterback coach. Like, they need a few positions as well. And so, again, I agree. All the guys you said, they need to come back. You want to keep this defense as close to what it was last year as possible because they already know the playbook. So the transition from play call to play on the field is going to be even smoother, even faster. So the more that you can keep the guys who were here last year learning this playbook in this defense, the better for the New York Jets. Now, you don't want to go overboard, though. Quincy, he's a good linebacker, but he's not a great linebacker, and he's not great in coverage either. So he's more of an attack style guy, and you have a coordinator that doesn't blitz, damn it. Like, if you're going to have a physical guy like Quincy, blitz him. Send him sometimes, man. This guy's a physical force. Like, I want to see the Jets blitz more often. And so if you're going to spend big money on linebackers, use them properly. If you want coverage guys, go get coverage guys. They might be no-name guys that we don't know about, but in coverage, they're solid linebackers. Do what you think is best to keep this defense good. But if not, bring your guys back, sign them, and bring them all back for sure.
Love it. Liam, final thoughts?
Go Jets.
Guru, we appreciate you being on the show. I know you got your next show to do. Where can we find you real quick?
You can go to @JetsGuru on Facebook, man. We're going to be going live here in about 12 minutes or so. Don't have all the bells and whistles. My producer is working some different shifts, but we'll be back to full force pretty soon. @GuruJets on Twitter. That's Ramon. He does our Twitter. Which one is it? I'm all over the place with it. Jets Guru for Instagram, @Jets Guru for Facebook, @Guru Jets for Twitter. And we also have a YouTube page. Go on there too if you want.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. So you can follow us Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for everything NYJ Podcast. You can follow me, Italy Jet, on these social media platforms. And you can follow Liam Johnson on Twitter and also Facebook if you want to on Facebook. And
Instagram.
then and Instagram. Well, you have Facebook too, though, don't you?
I don't use it.
Oh, yeah, whatever. But guys,
I probably won't see your friend request until like next year.
Right.
I don't even have it downloaded on my phone. I don't really use it.
Definitely. Jets Guru, we appreciate you being on the appreciate you being on the show. We're gonna be back every Wednesday night, and then we'll be continue to do draft stuff. We'll be continuing to do reels and small videos from Liam as well. Guys, you have a great night. Jets Guru, go to his channel right now. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. You guys have a great night, and go Jets.
Peace out. Go Jets.